Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where we are gathering to discuss Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. In particular, today we are discussing genius developed through the sixth sense. Out of the book, this is out of chapter 11, and it has to do with mind stimuli. What is that sixth sense? What are we tapping into? Can we? Can it be learned? What does it mean? So anybody want to jump into the seat and discuss this with me? Taking from Napoleon Hill, from the book itself, we have genius is someone who has discovered how to increase the vibrations of thought to the point where they can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary rate of vibration of thought. It's so difficult to articulate exactly how these inner workings of our brain work, how the inner workings of spirit work, spiritual side of us, the emotional side of us. You know, the easy thing to articulate is the behavior, isn't it? That's the easiest thing to articulate. So this is what Napoleon Hill is putting out to us. You know, the genius is someone who's discovered how to increase the vibrations of thought. And what he's telling me by saying this is someone who has discovered how to increase the vibrations of thought. They've discovered it. That means it's available to me and to you. Something that can be available to us. We can tap into this. We can learn how to do this. Comments, questions, jump into the seat to talk about this. Happy to have you join in, please. All right, so what's he mean by higher vibrations of thought? We're talking about tapping into that creative imagination. And another way to look at this is to look at our hunches and inspirations. Where do they come from? They come from an infinite intelligence. That's that higher power. That's that God. It's the universe. It is whatever we're most comfortable calling the infinite intelligence. That power which is so much greater than myself. Let's see, hunches and inspiration can come from the subconscious mind. All that which I store inside of that subconscious, because I'm exposed to so many messages. I am exposed to so many images, thoughts, ideas, text. Think about all the exposure, okay? Just by getting online and looking at Google, getting online and coming here, I'm exposed to each of your images, your names, the fact that I can tweet this out, acknowledging each one of us in here. This is all information I'm taking in. This is all that information I'm taking in. So that's where it resides, is in the subconscious. So where else can we get it from is someone else's mind. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just hook up like an IV into someone else's mind and just get their good stuff? Just download it, let's go. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about it in terms of things like this, where we're discussing, as soon as you get in here and participate in the discussion, where we're talking with each other and expressing our own views and our ideas related to the topic at hand, is coming from your mind. What I'm expressing now is from my own mind. I'm imparting to you. Take it for what you will. Yeah, matrix input, Jack, exactly, where I can download it. That'd be nice. But I can't. Now, then he posits that we can also get that from someone else's subconscious storehouse. That one's, I can tell you that, again, it's difficult to articulate it and describe it. But if you are in a focused effort with a team of people, if you're on a project, if you are hands down in the garage or at the kitchen table with one or more people, and you are bouncing ideas off of each other, you're brainstorming, if you will, and you suddenly get that inspiration that this is the direction I need to go. Never would have thought of it had I not been around you. And yet nobody said it out loud. Nobody said it out loud. But that energy that's generated by our combined efforts of thought is called the mastermind, something that comes out above and beyond, right? We have that energy that's happening and you can feel it. I've been there many times where I know my imagination is going and I'm absorbing what other people are saying and how they're responding to things, and suddenly I'm inspired to say a statement. It's just no pre-thought to it, if you will. I didn't think things out, but it's one of those where we're throwing things out on a wall to see if it sticks or on the table to see if it stays. And it's like we're pinging off of each other in terms of thought, and suddenly something from out of the blue, completely different than what anybody's been talking about or the direction we seem to be going in. Either I say it or somebody else says it and we're struck. That's it. That's it. And I've been there, and it's pretty exciting when that happens. That's an inspiration. And that's what I view as what comes from someone else's subconscious storehouse and someone else's mind. Just my own thoughts there. Jump on in if you want to participate in the discussion. So Matt's saying, do you think it can be light bulb moments from someone? Oh, good night, yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Can it be a light bulb moment? Yeah, that's exactly the way I would describe it. Is that the hunch or the idea or the picture, the image comes to mind, and you weren't even going in that direction, right? You weren't going in that direction. And you wonder, where in the world did that come from? Well, I'm not going to question it now because, gosh darn, it was really good stuff. We'll question it later, right? You've had that, Matt, where someone has said something simple and the perspective just shifted and stopped in my tracks. Yes. Yes. I've had what I call halogen light bulb moments, where I often refer to it, and I think a few of you have heard me say it, watch me when I have my moments of brilliance, and I call those halogen light bulb moments. And it's when out of nowhere, everything came together. Just bam. And I'm able to move forward with something. And I call it a halogen light bulb moment because it really feels different. It's not just an idea. It's not just the thoughts there. It is an emotional response to having that hunch or inspiration. It is that excitement that follows, but it's the, as you say, stopped in my tracks, Matt. It's not even hitting a wall. It is the stunned, that moment of, again, inspiration or hunch, inspiration or hunch. Hello, Johnny. Welcome. Welcome to the room. It is good to see you, David. Anybody wants to jump in and discuss any parts of these, you are welcome to join me. Julie, nice to see you here. This is an interesting question. How can you tell the difference between intuition and just plain hoping for the right idea? How can you tell? Anybody want to try to answer that? Johnny, you want to come in and try to answer that? And we got both Johnnies coming in. Fantastic.
Hey, how are you?
Johnny. Good to see you, Johnny Ray. Nice to see you again. It's been a while. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I just jumped around this morning, making a few blabs here and there. Trying to
Well, I'm glad you
procrastinate a little
took
bit
my
because I'm
mind.
supposed to be in my studio videoing right now, but I'm putting it off.
Won't tell anybody. We won't tell anybody that you're playing hooky on my blab.
Oh, okay.
So what do you think of Johnny Magnificence?
Get into
Statement
question
there.
again.
Well, how can you tell the difference between intuition and just plain hoping for the right idea? Or can you?
Experience.
Okay.
You base everything on know how it happened before. You need the more experiences they have, the more time to get kicked down, the better you can stand up. That's the best way I can describe it. If you want to get good, you have to get knocked down. You have to try harder. I snow ski, for example. If I don't go to the triple X, slopes, I don't learn to get better. If I stay on the bunny slope, I can't. You have to have the experiences. You have to be able to try harder. And I guess that builds an intuition inside of you because you kind of know without really knowing, but you have a better hunch of what can work.
Okay. What do you think, Johnny? The other Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, can you hear us?
Oh, we can't hear him.
No, can't hear
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you
Yes.
now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I guess sometimes you got to turn on the source, and that's what I had to turn my mic on. So that goes back to the same thing. Sometimes you have to turn on that inner, like Johnny said, experience. After you've gone through and dealt with and trusted yourself or your experience enough, you have to listen to that still small voice. And that's hard. And the question is the answer that you're receiving or the feeling that you're getting, is it really intuition, or is it just really you just trying to push or eisegete an answer into your subconscious? And that distinction is very subtle, but it's very important, because moving forward, if you want to trust that intuition and move forward and act on it and get the results you're looking for, you have to have that, as Johnny said, enough experience and enough of an intimate relationship with your own self to understand that.
I like
and it helps to learn from
it
helps to learn from experience. If you don't, then you keep repeating the same thing over and over, and a lot of times we do that. So each time that you get knocked down, you got to figure out why, and you improve each time. If you don't, it's just the same thing over and over. And women are much better at intuition than men are. I'll admit that in a heartbeat. For some reason, they just they're wired to be more, attuned, I guess, with their past.
Well, women are more trusting.
I don't hear you again, Johnny.
Oh,
yeah, there's a
lag.
lag.
Lost me again. Okay. Well, maybe it's my.
No, there's just simply a lag in your video and audio. That's all.
Okay, so I look like one of those martial arts fighters that says, "I'll fight you."
Also known as the 1950s Japanese movie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what you do is you speak, and then you just keep moving your mouth, and eventually it'll catch up. Yeah.
It'll catch up. I think that the Johnny is really onto something, because as you begin to trust or learn to trust that inner voice, that inner guidance system, that's what allows you to be able to take advantage of it and then make decisions or take actions based on that inner guidance. And that's what the intuition is, that you are able to tap into something beyond your own physical expression and create something that is more of a directive, that is intimate and able to take you to the level or the position or the manifestation that you're seeking.
I'm liking where you're going with this. I'm going to ask you to keep going. I need to refresh my screen, so I shall return. You guys keep it up, okay?
Hey, Johnny, I know you got a green screen behind you. I know you got a green screen behind you. Do you stream anything behind your green screen?
I'm in the process of up leveling my experience to be able to do that.
I've been testing a bunch of different ones out there, and none of them seem to do real good on streaming the background. I'm using a thing called
Hey,
Sparkle
wait a
right
second.
now.
You're supposed to be talking about intuition, boys.
Sparkle.
What happened?
Sorry.
Well,
I leave the room for 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
This is an intuitive. This is an
we-
intuitive moment. We're reaching into something deeper than ourselves so that we can understand what our next move should be. So this
The color of your
connects
background.
directly to what you're saying.
The
Right,
color
the
of
color of
your
your
background.
background that's what's inside. So the color of your background is an intuitive expression of what you want your foreground to become.
Good try.
Is that big?
Not going to fly. Hey, but that guy he attempted some creativity there.
Look at what's happening in the background there.
Let's
the
celebrate a little
background
bit.
noise.
You know, if
See,
that's
the
all
white noise
if that's all
in
it
our
takes.
spirit.
Now that I like. Take it there, Johnny. Take it there.
Yeah, see, the back that's the backstory that's going on.
I live in Tampa, and tomorrow we have the Pirates coming in. I don't know if y'all know about Gasparilla, but once a year the Pirates come in and steal the city, and that starts tomorrow. So we're going to have a lot of rum being consumed in the next couple of days.
Okay.
But it's a big festival here.
It's a big deal.
Charlene, let me step in and say this. We were talking about this green screen in the background, and the value of a green screen is that you can, as you're presenting, you're able to create an image that's not physically there, but is virtually there. And see, that's what intuition does. It is something that is not physically there initially, but when you have the interaction with others, it creates a systemic dynamic that is synergistic, and it takes and creates something larger than you currently are experiencing. So with that green screen, that's the intuition. So that what happens is we're able to develop a knowledge bigger than ourselves, that's outside of ourselves, that allows us to be able to have the manifestation that we're seeking.
A lot of people are looking for a way to brand themselves and to advertise, I guess, in the blabs. And with a green screen, you can throw the ad right behind your head.
He is ruining your save, my friend. He just ruined the save there.
Just okay. I thought it was just a great thing.
Oh, it was so close.
Charlene, what do you think in terms of of intuition, it being an avenue or an access to information beyond what you have experienced, as it were?
I am a believer that the more I can rely and others can rely on their intuition and follow it and trust it, the better off we are. It takes time to learn how to trust your intuition if you have experiences of not understand and don't understand what that means first. But you've also had experiences where you went against you can't trust yourself. So you have to know how to trust yourself first, because over the years I've worked with broken women who their decisions were all made based on intuition and ignoring it. So their intuition told them this was a bad deal. They went anyway. Their intuition told them that this was not a good man to hang with. They did it anyway. Their intuition told them that this wasn't a good place to be. They did it anyway. So when you do that to yourself, you start distrusting yourself. And that is where the intuition comes from. It's inside you. That's not the source of the information within the tuition. I'm just saying that my intuition is inside me. I can't grab any one of the Johnny's intuition and pull it, right? So it's inside me. So first and foremost, I think it's important that I trust myself. I have to learn how to do that. then I believe that the intuition itself is a culmination of my own knowledge, that which is, I've marinated on ideas and come up with my own thoughts of what things mean and perspectives, information you are giving me by being here, by sharing what you know, and then that extra that happens. That extra that happens when I'm willing to put aside the exterior noise, like you said, that white noise, when I'm willing to put it aside and tap into the intuition, I'm placing myself in a position to listen to an answer that's going to come through that source. All right, so that's as good as I can get. Did that answer your question?
Like, the husband and wife type thing. I come up with a lot of facts. And then my wife, when I get through, I look at her and I want to know what she thinks, which is different from actually looking at the facts and just making a decision on what's there. Her and me putting it together, a lot of times come up with a lot better decision. And it takes both parties, I think, to really kind of make it work.
Yeah, it's like saying that, so we have the green screen in front of us, but now we're going to add all these pieces of information that are related to, as you're saying, the facts in order to base a decision on. And then being able to, the sum is greater than the individual parts, right? Because that's what you just said, is that, so all the facts are out there and suddenly she's able to walk in and add that extra to it. And I'm saying that the extra is when you've got the sum of all the parts is greater, right?
Oh, absolutely. It takes all of it to kind of really make the good decisions, and we all have enough bad decisions in our lives. So it's good to have some good ones occasionally, So it takes, a lot of people, and if you have a lot of friends, you get a lot of feedback. And so that's the reason I guess I love making friends a lot. So, and I have a lot of contacts from all over the world.
Take it above that, Johnny. Take it a level above that, because I can consult with my inner circle. I can consult with you down here. I can seek counsel with somebody who's got greater experience and what have you. We're talking about something that's a level above that, where we're tapping into, again, beyond our intuition, we're looking for inspiration. We're looking for a hunch. We're looking for something to go deeper. There's more than just the facts in front of us. And what Napoleon Hill is saying is that we can hone that skill, and that's where genius lies, is to be able to concentrate on the unknown to get the inspiration or hunch, or to get the answer, to get that flash of genius, if you will. There's examples in here of focusing your attention on that which is known and then letting the imagination wander around it. Now, to me, that's a troubleshooting technique. When I'm troubleshooting a piece of equipment, or back in the day, a piece of code, it was looking at what's in front of me, and that's my entire world right now, and ruminating on it and doing a what if, what if exercise, and kind of, again, just letting it marinate up in the mind. And because that is the sole focus, suddenly being inspired with an answer. Or my hunch says, we're in the wrong direction here. We need to change some of this code and go into a different direction. We need to change out these parts and go in this direction, and it be the one that satisfies.
I hate to leave, but I got to get the production going.
Okay, Johnny, thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you again.
I got a new course in Udemy, and I'm trying to get the last little section where I can have it released. So I'm trying to get that done today. But nice talking to you.
Good to see you again. You have a good one.
Good day, Johnny.
Come on in, Steve.
Charlene, as he's coming in, what kind of impressed upon my spirit right now is that there's a collective consciousness that we get to engage in. And that collective consciousness is larger than we are individually. And so the information, as it were, that gives us that hunch or that intuition, that inspiration is what we need to seek or aspire
Yes.
to connect to. And most of
That's
the time,
exactly what we're
that
talking
gives
about.
us, right. And most of the time, it gives us not negative focus, but it gives us positive answers to what we've, the question. See, the key is the question. And then the answer comes from tapping into that collective consciousness. And the answer comes from being able to filter that information and allow to be able to trust that information that we're moving in the right direction. That's my 2 cents.
Love that. Yes. Oh, it's worth more than 2 cents. Hey, Steve, welcome.
Well, give me $1.
Put it
Hello
on my
there.
account. On account, I don't have it with me right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I
Steve.
think we froze Steve.
Hi there. Sorry, at the moment I can only see part of you because my screen's covered. I can see everyone again. That's good. This is a subject I feel passionate about and have explored to a large degree earlier in my life, and now I'm just settled on what to do. Okay, very much value you coming back at me with the opposite view, so that would help me move forward again. But here's what I've learned. When I was in my 20s and earlier, I would throw caution to the wind and I would go in and make mistakes. And I was very, very barely aware of that voice. It always got pushed aside. When I reached 27, I started playing chess again seriously. Chess is a game of war. Chess is not very pleasant. If anybody observes it from the outside, it just looks like two relatively pleasant people sitting down quietly studying. It's not like that at all. You want to kill the other guy during the game. After the game's over, you shake his hand, hopefully, and you walk away. It's psychological, okay? So once I got into chess again, this voice started getting louder. And then when I reached the peak of my chess playing, I quit. And poker was reaching, dizzy heights from where it had been. And that really, really then got me into thinking about this still small voice. Okay, and through the poker years that I played, I reached my conclusion. Here it is. I'm not entirely convinced there is a sixth sense per se, but having become a Christian at 7, I'm fully aware of a spiritual world that's out there. But there may be an element to that, but actually, well, there is an element to that. It comes down to two things, in my opinion, at this time in my life. It's a mixture of experience and God. Okay, take this. This is why it needs picking apart. But this is what I want to share with you. Amazingly, when you obey that still small voice, in my experience, it's right 95% of the time. Now, the still small voice, when it first hits you, it's small. It's trying to grab your attention. And it's very, very easy to ignore. But there's that feeling going on there. The trick is to recognize that it's the still small voice talking to you at that point in time. That's the hardest thing to work on. But once you've got used to that, do you know what? Since those poker years, that's 2005. So what we now, 11 years later now, I always, without question, go with the still small voice. I've lived my life like that now for 11 years. And it's right 95% of the time. And I think the time it's wrong is when I haven't actually been listening. So this is a big part of my decision making now. And the last thing I want to leave you with before anything else is how do you hear that still small voice? It's a teeny little feeling which you, as soon as you get it, your very first reaction is to go, no, that's wrong. So the trick is to recognize it when it comes to you in a form which usually is anti-logic to start with. What do you think of that?
I'm all over it. And that's because of my own experience and walking women through how to listen for it.
Right. That's
Because
interesting.
where you're, I believe, or not even believe, I know you to be correct. And I say I know with conviction because of my own experience. And again, walking these women through is we ignore that still small voice because oftentimes, because as you said, it's contrary to what our head is telling us.
Yeah.
It's a contradiction to what the world is telling us.
Yeah.
It is so weak in volume, right? And it's because we haven't given it a priority. But it's so weak that we question its validity. And one way that I learned, one of a few different ways to practice this, it began on the spiritual side of me. It began on exploring the ways to pray and meditate so that I actually got something from the meditation. And this is the way, honestly, when I'm working with a broken woman is begin with prayer. And then let's teach you how to actually meditate right afterwards. So those who, again, remember you're coming to me as broken and you can't trust your intuition. You can't trust yourself. Let's get you trusting God first. And so most of them come with some type of religious background so they can at least associate, whether they believe or not, they can associate what I'm saying. That prayer is you talking. This is your conversation. Prayer is you talking. Meditation is you listening and learning how to listen for those answers and then talking about the answers that you get. And so that way you're not left to your own devices. You can't trust yourself. I couldn't trust myself. This is what exercise somebody had taken me through and it works. I can't trust myself, but I trust you more than because if you tell me to do something, I'm going to trust you and I'm going to go do it. Right.
Sorry,
so we're in that position, right?
Sorry,
so
it's what's the you that you just said there? Is that the still small voice?
If I can't trust myself, what do you mean?
Yeah. You said if you can't trust yourself, you can trust you.
Let's go now. When I was taught this way of learning how to listen to it, I was taught this, and the person who taught me is the you. I'm going to trust them and what they say before I trust myself. And the exercise of learning how to pray and meditate, and then taking back what I heard in the meditation to somebody I trust to say, this is what I think I'm being told to do, right? Or very hesitant, this is kind of what came up and it's making no sense at all. And it's just simply exploring that suddenly opens the door to the possibility. And what eventually happens is I hear I'm hearing me say it out loud. By saying it out loud, it's real. I see the direction I'm going in my life, and I can see that by not doing what I just said aloud, this isn't turning out very well. Gotcha. Then practicing, let's trust what you just said aloud and walk forward with it. And that 95% of the time when it's working is exciting because suddenly I'm saying out loud what was inside that little voice, what I'm interpreting it to say. I'm seeing that it's working, and just those actions over a period of time, I begin to trust what the inner voice is telling me, and because I'm giving it a priority, it is, and that level of trust is becoming louder. So it's no longer that little hidden voice. I can tap into it now. So that's the way I understood you to talk and my experience with it.
Yeah, we're on the same page. And then if you start to learn to trust that voice and listen for it, it helps in faster decision making.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
absolutely does.
Yeah. And so, I spent a lot of my life playing games, chess, poker, all sorts, mind games. And one of the benefits of doing that, otherwise it could be an utter waste of time, is promotes quick decision making, especially with chess. You're up against a clock and there are a variety of options, and you have to select the best one. So I have lived my life like that for 11 years now. I don't regret it, and I don't intend to change, because I've learned to trust that voice.
I'm with you on that completely. And so, yes, it's a part of decision making and improving the decision making process. Jock is saying the problem is we engage in counterintuitive actions that drown out the intuition that's guiding us to our greater good. That is a problem, unless we have it as part of our daily practice. Now, I can speak to that. When I have prayer meditation first thing in the morning as my daily practice, I am more tuned into who I am. I'm more aware of what's going on around me. And yes, I'm able to make better decisions. But it's practice. And just as you said, Steve, all those games you were playing, you got better at them because you were practicing them, playing them. And based on previous experience, plus the knowledge gained from somebody else's plays, that combination makes a bigger piece, which can become the ability to tap into for making really good plays, if you will, can become part of that intuition.
Yeah, what was I going to say? That there's as you said the word excitement. There is an excitement when you feel you've gone beyond your own apparent knowledge and ability by tapping into what appears to be nonsense to start with. But, well, it's counterintuitive. That's the thing.
It does. It can appear that way.
Yeah.
It can appear that way. Now, Steve, somebody in the comment section, Dave, is saying if it feels good, it probably is good to choose that and make a decision to go with it. And I disagree. It's not that it feels good. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between feeling good and feeling right. There's a difference because I have said it aloud a few times, and I'll say it aloud on record. There have been times that I felt like I was arguing with God. And what I was doing was I knew what needed to be done was the right thing. That's what everything inside of me said to do. I trusted it, but upstairs, I'm going to argue it because I didn't want to do it. I didn't understand why it was the right thing. I didn't have enough behind it to say, I could understand maybe the consequences of doing what is the right thing. That sort of thing. So the feeling is different where it feels good versus it feels right. And when I'm tapping into guidance and wanting a decision to be made or wanting assistance to make that decision, did that make any sense?
Well, I think the reason I can do Dave, so presumably you're called Dave. Sorry if I got your name wrong. But the reason you might be at slight odds here is because the definition of good and right, I think that's a wobbly one where it can, somebody good is somebody else's right.
So it's a matter of language.
Okay, it's the same thing to him, but it's not to Charlene.
Yeah, it's not. I do have a distinction there. That's interesting.
Well, see,
it's neither good nor bad in itself, right? It's just a different perspective. I think we're all on the same page. Again, it comes down to language and how we're able to articulate the insight, which is the most difficult thing in the world to do. Yeah. It's easy to articulate behavior and results, not the process that it was involved.
Yes. The point is that we're going beyond where our mind would comfortably go. That's why it's difficult. The sixth sense, if that's what you want to call it, is that step beyond. But
I like that.
Yeah, but that is the area of brilliance. As you said, you used a different word, but it's that kind of going the extra bit requires you to not to zag when everybody else is zigging. That's one of the phrases I picked up from the 80s, which I liked. I think they said it the other way around, but it's the same sort of thing. If you want to, and that's particularly true in money risking situations, shall we call it. If you're going to get better value by not going with where everybody else is going, but I'm straying off the point. I'm trying to find other real life examples. But yeah.
Or another way to simply articulate it, which isn't so simple, right? It's difficult. It's difficult. It's nice to know I'm on the same page with somebody, though. Isn't it nice to know that we can, hey, somebody gets it. How cool is that? Because, for years, as I said, I've working with some broken women. It can get very draining because they don't understand. They want to, but to bring it to a point of do this action, just trust me, just do this action and we'll get you through. This is the only way to get through it. So it's helpful. Always helpful to tap into somebody else who gets what we're talking about, right? And most of you I know are in the audience actually are getting it because of your responses, and your comments are fantastic. So we've got one fella. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just was curious as to when you first started getting the inkling that there was, this small voice, the contrary voice, sixth sense. When did that start happening in your life?
When I paid attention to it and trusted it, or when I actually recognized it was there? Two completely different experiences. I recognized it was there when I was very, very young, 6, 7 years old.
Gotcha.
And it because of the way I viewed the world, and my response to it seemed very different to what others did. And I was encouraged to think independently and what have you. And it came out in my writings and it came out in my music. Trusting it as to what it was.
That's the question. Yeah, that's probably the question.
Trusting it was when I was about 20 or so, when I started to learn how to trust it.
Yeah. Congratulations. So you beat me by about 6 to 7 years. It's important. It's important because you will excel quicker, the quicker you can learn this lesson, I think.
It is, yeah. You're right.
So can we ask?
And I have. I've succeeded in a few different areas that the directions that I went are fantastic. My stumbling over the past couple of years has been because in a completely new realm. And so I am, and just so everybody knows, I've been trusting my intuition by sticking with this blab, by even starting it. That's where it came from.
Gotcha.
Was the inner voice was saying I needed to do this. Let's see if anybody's going to be on board. I need to do some of the things I've been doing with my business, and it's working. It's just the hesitancy is that I am in a completely different world. That's what I meant by if it feels good or if it's right.
Gotcha.
Because it is not good for Charlene to be in the spotlight. It does not feel good, people. It just doesn't. And yet that's what everything's been guiding me to do, is to be stepping out front. So
here's a question for you then, if I may. To kick me off if I'm going off board. But how does this sixth sense small voice work when it would now appear to be that the original plan needs changing, pivoting, if you like? So what was right is no longer. Is it just, is that irrelevant? Is it just a fresh
that's, if you want to say it's irrelevant, I don't know that I like that word, but it's a non-issue to me.
I think you're
and
right.
It's because honestly, it's because I'm not in a vacuum sealed room. So by just stepping out the door, getting online with you, my entire world has changed. And the environment has changed. The input has changed. So of course, things inside of me must respond. Whatever the plan was, right? Whatever the plan to get to the end goal is, the plan can change and does constantly because of the environment. And I don't have control over you or anybody else. Trust me, if I did, I'd have gotten here a lot quicker. A lot quicker, Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I'm very curious, and I'll have to go, I'm afraid. But just because, we're on the same wavelength here, and I don't get to chat about this very often. But how many times would you say you get to now that you're on board with it and have been for many years, how many times do you get to exercise this sixth sense, would you say?
It's funny because what's going through my mind is how many times do I intentionally access it for inspiration or guidance versus how often throughout the day is it a part of how I do things? Because again, I only say it that way because I have proven to myself that when I begin my day with focused prayer and meditation, I become more aware of who I am and my surroundings, and I become more reliant on my intuition. So I do things without a whole lot of thought. Do you know what I'm saying?
Brilliant. Well, and that's great if you can get to that level.
When I'm there. And it's an awesome place to be, but I've struggled this past couple of years because of where I'm going into, right? I am battling it now. It just because of, again, the easiest way for me to put it is that you put me in the spotlight, make me the center of attention. It's still very uncomfortable for me. And yet I've been pushed by other people. I've been drawn to it since I was very, very young. It's just not something that is easy for me to do. So it's new things happening over the past few years with the business, the direction I want to go, and who I want to be plays a big part in it as well. So that's why I'm not able to tap into it regularly. There isn't that constant guidance throughout the day because I mentally am struggling against the right way to go.
So sorry, you lost me there. So you're not tapping into it regularly, you are?
Well, that's it. I tap into it regularly. Honestly, I do. What I'm saying is when all is well and all the conditions are right and I start my day with the prayer meditation and very focused, then I'm able to tap into it at will. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, because the problem I've got with this conversation is I have to separate out my faith and prayer, and so hearing from God versus the sixth sense intuition. I'm not convinced they're the same thing. I don't think they are. I think maybe one can influence the other.
They're not. No. Yeah, I can tap into it intentionally when I'm working on a project and I'm the one that has to come up with how we're going to get there. How are we going to get to the end result that we're looking for? And one of the techniques is a quieting of the room, quieting of the environment, being able to focus the entire attention on just what's in front of me. And I always simplified it by telling people it's the troubleshooting technique and begin my own exercise of what if. And then the inspirations come and I get into that creative mind of imagining what it actually looks like and tearing it apart and what have you. That's intentional. And that's not a reliance on a spiritual guide or guidance or what have you.
Yeah, thank
you. It's almost a purely mental exercise.
Yeah, no, you've done. Thank you very much. You've. I like to work by rules, and you've kind of given me a rule there, which is, I would have said before you said that, I would have said no. I never intentionally seek it. It happens or it doesn't happen. But actually, what you're saying is you're putting yourself in a position for things to happen. They may or may not happen, but that's the intentional part, isn't it? Putting yourself in a position to allow yourself to. Yeah. Why didn't I see that before?
I think you're surprising me with that simply because of the type of work that you do. Because even as detailed and specific as your 3D animation is, you still have to guide where it's going to go. And you know when something's right and when it's not. You struggled at one time with a deadline, right?
Yeah.
Plus, this isn't quite right. And it's
Yeah.
going to affect and have an impact on the rest of the storyline if I don't get this part right, and the struggle to get it right. So the combination, so now you're in a pressure cooker. Highly focused.
That's been my last 6.25 years.
Well, yeah.
Every
Highly
day.
focused. I thought just the one time you shared with us that what I envisioned was there you are in your soundproof room, right? And you're in a pressure cooker. So you tell me, what else were you looking at and thinking about when you were in that pressure cooker coming up against the deadline? You need to get this done. And he has to be right. The character has to be right. This piece has to be right.
Yeah.
So that is an intentional use of, if you will, the attempt to go into that creative genius, to tap into it.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to do it. You put yourself in a pressure cooker because you had to get it right. Whereas there's other ways to do it, like I just described. I intentionally think it through and say, no, I need to step away. I am going to create this environment. My attention is there now. Let me really go deep and do something. Let's see what happens. Or,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and you're right. I just want to say that in that case, the other thing, which maybe this is a whole different, well, it is a whole different blab, but the whole sixth sense thing with creativity is probably quite linked. They're different, but they're linked. And, the whole pressure cooker needing to come up with an answer, that particular thing, I did actually do a blab on this, is you will get a toolbox as you get older, finding ways of forcing creativity. People say it can't be done, but it can be done. Maybe some of it comes through the sixth sense, but the other way of doing it is finding ways of getting your brain out of that mode and allowing it to relax, and then it will give you the answer. It's not the sixth sense, but it certainly is. It's managing yourself to allow you to go beyond where you would have gone if you just carried on in that path. See what I'm saying?
So would it be proper, possibly, to define that, what you just described, as the sixth sense, in the sense of you are now combining all five senses? By changing the environment or the position you're in to change your thinking so that you can come up with the answer that you're looking for. So you can be more focused. Might be a way to describe that.
Well, perhaps then, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants now, but perhaps there is if you want to go to the seventh sense, if there is one, combination of this tapping into the sixth sense and the rules, if you like, for breaking through a creativity block. Put those two together, you might really surprise yourself. I've never thought of it that way before. Yeah.
Goodness, you would. Well, I don't believe what I just described is actually the sixth sense. I'm with you that what you described is different than what we're talking about as that sixth sense of tapping into an energy outside ourselves or something other than ourselves, even though it's a part of who we are. I've always viewed that sixth sense as greater than the sum. It's just, again, that intangible. I can't describe it. My language is inadequate. But it is a feeling. It is a feeling that I'm there and it's happening, and this is very, very cool. And it'd be awesome if I could get everybody in there to experience this, because what's happening in the brain and with the feelings is really, really awesome. It's exciting. It can be very exciting.
I'm going to leave you now.
Of course, it can be very distracting too, because of the fight. My head's telling me one thing and my intuition's telling me something else.
No, it's not. No. Once you know that it's that inner voice, just go with it. 11 years now.
Oh, yes. That's the secret. Honestly, that's the secret. Yes. Well, trust me, I wouldn't be sitting here on this blab right now if I had been following my head. This is I know the right path I'm to go on, and it's just, again, my head battles it.
I'm going to leave you
But I'm
with
still
this.
here because I trust that over my head.
Yeah. Well, it's working for you. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave you with this thought. You can look it up on YouTube. I think it was the 2006 Poker World Championships. There was, and I can't even remember his name, so this is a lousy example. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. But there was a guy that wasn't particularly experienced in poker that made it to the final table. Oops, sorry, I'm mixing the stories up. Anyway, the point I wanted to get to was that you could watch the entire thing happen. And there was this one guy that was on this amazing streak, and about 4 or 5 times throughout the entire championship, and this goes on for 6 or 7 days solid. It's a killer, yeah, but the prize money's big. Every so often, and you watched it happen with no editing, it would go around the table, and you could see the decisions. You could see what was going on in his mind, and you knew that he didn't know what you knew, because in the coverage they show you some of the cards and stuff. But having been there mentally myself, I was figuring out what he was figuring out, and he came to the right conclusion. And about 5 or 6 times in that championship, he shouted out loud, "How did I know? How did I know?" And I was so there with him, because I thought, yeah, you tapped into everything there, and then you went that bit beyond, and that brought you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Trusting it.
Yeah, trusting it. He went with it.
You know, I have called it trusting the knowing, and as I've described that to some people who can't get the meditation part, that inner voice, you know, and I say it's that that knowing, unequivocal, you know it to be true,
yeah,
and every time you ignore that or deny it is when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes that will be the light bulb that goes off. It's I can get that.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
he's
cool.
right. How do you know? How do you know? Let's not talk about it. Go make some more money, right?
Nice to talk to you again, Charlene.
Awesome. Wonderful to see you, Steve. Thanks. Anybody else want to jump in the last few minutes of the show? That was fun. That was fun for me. I sure hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it over here, and those who are watching. Thanks for hanging in with us. It's interesting stuff, isn't it? I think it can be taught. I think it can be honed. I think we all have the ability, small or great, we have the ability. And I think what Napoleon Hill is telling us is that in order to move further, to be closer to where we want to be when it comes to our chief aim, is utilize this, tap into that sixth sense, learn how to tap into it. Just a thought. Hang on a second. All is well. Welcome, Ann. Good to see you here. Glad you are here. And others who have stepped in. Paul, Craig, good to see you. Welcome, Patty. So we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to close out the recording portion. Keep the room open if anybody would like to continue the conversation, join in the discussion, add your own thoughts. Feel free to do so. I want to thank everybody who's joined me in the live stream, Johnny, and Steve. And thank you, everybody, in the comment section for participating in the discussion. And I hope you who have been watching in the replay have, my hope is you've been inspired to at least take a look at the possibility that your inner voice is a place that you can tap for genius, for creativity, for imagination, but that you can also tap into the knowledge and minds of others. And it can be done, and that you can use that principle and that technique and that skill to move further. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.